Megyn Kelly, and we begin today in a major break. We have a major break in a very cold case that we've been following here at Megyn Kelly Today. We first brought you the story of the notorious Golden State Killer last month, and boy, has it taken a turn. Police say after 30-plus years, they have their man. More now from NBC's Joe Fryer.
A notorious cold case finally cracked. Police believe a ruthless serial killer is now behind bars. Known both as the Golden State Killer and the East Area Rapist, investigators say their suspect committed at least 12 murders and more than 50 rapes across California in the 1970s and 80s.
We were looking for a needle in a haystack, but we also all knew that the needle was there.
Joseph James DeAngelo was arrested Tuesday night in Sacramento, just 10 miles from where the serial attacks began more than 40 years ago. Two of the victims he's accused of killing, Bruce Harrington's brother and sister-in-law, who were bludgeoned to death in their home in 1980.
It is time for the victims to begin to heal.
Police said thousands of man-hours and detective work helped them zero in on DeAngelo, and DNA samples from DeAngelo provided the final piece of evidence.
We were able to get some discarded DNA, and we were able to confirm what we thought we already knew, that we had our man.
DeAngelo had been a police officer in the nearby town of Auburn. He was fired after shoplifting a hammer and dog repellent from a store in 1979. Now 72, DeAngelo was on a police force when the crime spree began, eventually spreading to 10 counties. Investigators say the killer's brutal attacks included sadistic touches like stealing personal items from his victims and terrorizing some survivors again with threatening phone messages. The case's profile had risen in recent years, thanks in part to the work of journalist Michelle McNamara, who died in her sleep in 2016. McNamara's best-selling book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, was finished with the help of her husband, actor Patton Oswalt, who appeared on Late Night with Seth Meyers.
He's caught. The bracelets are on, and it feels like this thing that she wanted so badly is now done.
Wow. For more on how police finally cracked the case, I am joined by Sacramento County District Attorney Anne-Marie Schubert. Anne-Marie, thank you so much for being here, and congratulations on finally making an arrest in this case. So what was the tip? What was the moment that cracked this case wide open?
Well, I wouldn't say it was a tip from a person. I would say that it was DNA. Honestly, it was passion, persistence, and DNA. It was using innovative DNA techniques to get to the path that we needed in a very short order, which was all in the last week.
But the DNA, so you said yesterday that this guy wasn't even on your radar except for the last 6 days, and he was never on the radar prior to that. So there had to be something that led you to check that discarded DNA within the past 6 days.
Right. It had to do with the way that the DNA was done in this particular case, which was innovative, really the most advanced way that we can do DNA now, and it's something that ultimately led us to this individual.
But when you say discarded DNA, help us understand what that means.
Well, that means that the Sheriff's Department put him under surveillance, and he left some DNA, abandoned some DNA, and they used that to then build from, and then a secondary sample was obtained from him. And that was really the ultimate piece of evidence that identified him through his DNA as the East Area Rapist Golden State Killer.
But why did they put him under surveillance?
Because the technology that we used using DNA led us to him as a potential suspect in this case.
So his DNA was in the system in some way?
No, his DNA was not in a criminal database, I would say it that way.
Is it because he was in law enforcement?
I would say this, because I know everybody has questions about DNA. The arrest warrant is under seal, and the mechanism of the DNA will eventually come out, but as I say, it's really some innovative DNA work that led to him being a suspect, and then the sample, ultimately, which identified him through his DNA.
Fascinating. I understand you. There's only so much you can reveal, so I appreciate you trying to thread that needle. I get it. Right. Did he make any sort of a mistake or a slip up recently? I mean, did that play any role?
No. This man was undetected for 42 years until 6 days ago.
how was he able to hide in plain sight? Because he's living in, it's Citrus Hills, right? The same
Citrus Heights.
Citrus Heights, the same place where he committed some of his murders.
You know, he obviously was very good at what he did.
Wow. Is he, first of all, has he lawyered up?
I can't answer the question. I don't know the answer to that. He has not yet been arraigned. He'll be arraigned tomorrow.
Is he talking?
That's a question you'll need to ask the Sheriff's Department.
What was his, I know you said publicly he was surprised on arrest. Can you describe what that means?
Well, the sheriff described it. I wasn't there, obviously, when he was arrested, but I just believe that he was taken by surprise and I'm quite sure did not know it was coming.
He was living with whom when he was arrested?
I don't know the answer to that. I do know that when they apprehended him, he was by himself.
By himself, okay. And for the 6 days that you all were observing him, can you give us any color on that? What you saw, whether you were concerned at all? What did you observe?
Well, I wasn't part of the surveillance. Obviously, I knew about what was going on. I think, you know, from a perspective of public safety, that was a big concern, is making sure that however this went down, that everybody was safe and make sure that it was done in a swift and safe manner, really.
So for 10 years, it's believed this guy was on a killing spree from 76 to 86 and committing over 45 rapes. Do you believe, because as of 1986, they believe it stopped. Do you believe that? Do you believe he stopped killing as of 1986?
Well, I know that at least here in California with our DNA data bank that we don't know of any other murders in California, but that doesn't, you know, I'm not sure we're ever going to know all of them. I mean, because some may not have DNA, some may be in other places, some may not have, be in the system. So I'm not sure we're ever going to know, but what we do know is what we know now, which is he's the East Area rapist and he's the Golden State Killer.
How closely do you believe, because this case was quiet for so many years, and then Michelle McNamara wrote her book, and law enforcement's always been interested in it. CNN headline news profiled him in an hour-long special not long ago. We put the case on our show about a month ago. What was it, do you think, that led to the renewed interest in this?
Well, I think the press conference that was done in 2016 really reinvigorated folks. And after that press conference, you know, I asked a lot of folks to come to Sacramento and make a commitment of resources and people and experience and knowledge and dedication. And we did that. And I think everybody felt we can do this if we work hard enough and we are persistent and passionate about it. And you know, it all culminated yesterday. There was a
$50,000 reward. That was one of the things you guys offered as of 2016 to anybody giving information that would lead to his arrest or capture. Is that going to anybody?
That's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to that yet. I don't think people have sat down and tried to figure out whether that should happen in this case. But I'm sure it will be discussed.
It's possible.
It's possible.
How closely do you believe the sketches, because you guys put out sketches of this guy, now seeing who you arrested, this guy D'Angelo, how closely do you think he resembled those sketches?
I think the sketches are the sketches. I think the DNA is what really this case is all about. I mean,
and there's no doubt in your mind.
Over time.
There's no doubt, based on that DNA, there's no doubt in your mind you have the right guy.
There's no doubt in my mind that we have the right guy, yes.
Can I just ask you, because one of the things that you thought, and many people thought, was that he might be former law enforcement. The way he broke into the women's houses and the couples' houses, the way he knew how to tie up people, he knew just how to cover his tracks very well. Was there any investigation at the time or thereafter of fired police officers? Because he worked for 6 years as a cop. He got fired after he was caught shoplifting. He was stole dog repellent and I think a rope. So at the time, did anybody say, let's take a look at cops who have been fired who might be disgruntled in the area?
I don't know if they looked at that. I'm not sure they would know based on basically personnel records where somebody was actually fired. So that would be a difficult one. Being a member of law enforcement and actually being a member of the military was always something that law enforcement considered as a possibility.
Wow. Now he's been charged with 8 murders. Do you expect that number to go up?
He's been charged right now, Megyn, with 4. I expect those numbers to go up because there's many other counties involved.
Yeah, well, we were told 4 in your county and 4 in another as of this morning, at least according to the LA Times.
Yeah, well, it's 2 in Sacramento and 2 in Ventura, but there will be other cases filed from other counties as well.
Wow. Anne Marie, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I mean, it's a
Thanks for having
testament
me
to the
on.
dogged law enforcement efforts. Eventually, they got their man. All the best, and we'll continue to follow it.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.